Hey friends, let's talk about what's wrong with or maybe missing from some of the marketing content that you're probably enjoying and how this potentially might ruin your life. So, there's three things I want to talk about. The first issue is survivorship bias. Now, if you've read any growth marketing books or guides or you're watching videos or blogs, no doubt you've come across the amazing success story of Dropbox and how they successfully implemented a viral marketing, viral growth strategy, right? Share Dropbox with a friend and you get extra storage, and this is how they grew and found new users. And it's a great story. One issue with that is when you read that story, hear that story, in my case, multiple times from multiple sources, what you're not hearing is all of the stories about the probably tens of thousands of startups that also attempted to execute a viral growth strategy and failed. You don't really hear those stories, or anyway, I'm not hearing them. If you're hearing them, tell me where you're hearing them. So when you expose yourself to this success story and you shut off all of the failure stories, then you get a biased view of how effective these strategies are. And so you're completely missing that side of the picture. So that's a risk, that's a problem. And I'll admit, nobody wants to sit around and read hundreds and hundreds of stories about failed campaigns. Honestly, now that I say it, actually, I think that would be great content. I would love to read about failed campaigns. I think we need more of that. The second issue, and this is kind of related, is just a general lack of context and detail, especially around the actual success of what you're looking at. So this is an issue I have with a lot of teardowns and swipe files and content like that, where we look from the outside at somebody's marketing campaign or strategy, their website, their assets, their ads, whatever, and we deconstruct it and we say, this is what's good and this is what they're really totally crushing it with. And the thing is, we don't know as outsiders about the actual impact of this marketing. For all we know, it could be completely falling flat. I will say this content as a teaching tool is completely solid. In the hands of a skilled practitioner, if they want to look at somebody's website and point out, here are the concepts at play, here's where the execution is really solid, here's what this reminds me of, here's what you should take from this, that's valuable. You can learn from that. I have learned from that, but I try to keep in mind that I don't know whether the thing I'm looking at even works because I'm outside of the company. And to be honest, even inside the company, it's not unlikely that it's contested or in doubt or even unknown how effective the thing is. We're looking at artifacts and we say that we like them, and from that we assume that they're good, and that kind of matters. But the actual impact of, say, a web page redesign, because it's unknown to us, it might be atrocious. There are a handful of stories of website redesigns that went so terribly wrong that it actually made the news. Could do a video on website redesigns gone awry if anybody's into that. But for the most part, we don't hear about this. There's just marketers cowering and suffering in silence behind the scenes as they watch their metrics plummet. And from the outside, we might be looking at this saying, wow, this is an amazing redesign. Look what they did with this parallax. It's so cool. When in fact, they're losing business day after day after day ever since they launched it. So I think we got to be careful with looking from the outside when we don't have that context. And then the third piece that's missing is details about implementation and execution. And this is forgivable because this stuff is hard and it gets really complicated, and it would take a long time to walk through the nuts and bolts of carrying out any campaign, any setup and launch of an ad campaign, any website redesign process. It's hard, but the problem is, even if you manage to take in data about what worked and what didn't, so you're not biased in that way, and even if you're privy to enough information, insider details about how things go, that you pick the right strategy to execute for your particular product, even so, you can still completely fail on execution. It's very easy to fail on execution. But as far as I know, nobody's out there going into the level of detail of saying, here's how we evaluated the decision as to whether we should bring in an agency or use internal resources or hire for a role to execute on this particular campaign. Nobody's out there saying, this is the type of spec that I pass to my designer when I'm looking for this type of ad creative. I'm not aware of anything that detailed, but those details can make or break you. So that's my rant. These are the caveats that I try to keep in mind whenever I am consuming the very enjoyable and entertaining and wisdom-laden marketing content that's out there. It's just there's a lot we're not seeing. We're not seeing the details. We're not seeing the actual results or impact. And we're not seeing all the similar efforts that just fell flat and made people cry, but it didn't make the news. It didn't make your Twitter feed. So if you know anybody that's actually making content at these levels that overcomes these issues that I'm calling out, I would love to hear about it. Always looking for new stuff to read or watch or listen to. So if you leave a link in the comments, I'll be forever grateful. Thanks.